Lord of the Mysteries. Chapter 1055. Train of Thought. Completely digested? That's understandable. This is the act of hypnotizing a demigod. Although it's thanks to the Fate's siphon charm, it only helped to open the door of the body of heart and mind. The subsequent consciousness manipulation and the cue planting needs to be done personally. If she weren't careful, she would trigger an intense rejection and would lead to failure. Acting, done to the extreme, would definitely accelerate the digestion process. Klein nodded gently and said in praise, "This is a good thing. It's even more so for the current situation." Audrey understood what Mr. World meant. In this storm that was sweeping around thanks to the angel of imagination Adam and King George III, even if she stood by the sidelines, she could sense her weakness and how powerless she was. She couldn't wait to improve herself. She tersely acknowledged and said, "I'll urge the son to give his conditions to complete the deal and try my best to advance to Sequence 5. When the time comes, I hope that I can receive the protection of Mr. Fool and remain conscious in my dream." Having been prepared for this, Klein smiled and said, "Actually, you don't have to wait that long. I'll be able to sell you a Dreamwalker's Beyonder characteristic by tomorrow, and at the latest, Friday." As it was a private exchange, Klein didn't act as the world by deliberately making his voice hoarse. All he did was sound reserved. "Really?" Audrey's eyes widened, not concealing her surprise. Klein nodded and said, "It's actually from Vin Rambus. The new cross that Mr. Fool obtained can allow the Beyonder characteristics to be purged." He spoke very simply without explaining the actual steps. He maintained Gehrman Sparrow's unique coldness. "Is that so?" The corners of Audrey's lips curled up as she broke into a smile. She pressed against her chest and said, "Praise Mr. Fool! And thank you, Mr. World! A double token of gratitude." Klein chuckled inwardly and calmly said, "It's just a transaction. You need to pay for it," he lampooned to himself. Audrey maintained her smile and asked, "What do you need?" "For a Sequence 5 Beyonder characteristic, £8,000. Klein chose something that Miss Justice could gather in the fastest time possible. Audrey didn't mind the price. She thought for a while before asking, "Can you sell the separated hypnotist characteristic to me as well?" When she said that, she smiled in embarrassment and said, "It's for Susie. The incident this time was resolved all thanks to her. Yes, the higher her level, the greater the help she can provide will be." "Well, I'll also help her." "No problem. £4,000. Having expected this, Klein directly named his price. In his plan, he could stop once the hypnotist was purged, doing so without continuing the separation process. Now, he would place the unshadowed crucifix together for a long period of time, allowing its remaining characteristics to take form. A total of £12,000? Audrey asked for confirmation, not feeling too much pressure. As she didn't have any major expenditures for the past few months, she only had £10,000 left. Just a little bit of economizing was enough to satisfy her needs. Seeing the world nod, she heaved a sigh of relief. "I'll pay it before Friday." After closing the deal, her mood became better with Vin Rambus having been killed. She asked as though she was chatting, "I'll also buy the complete brain of an adult mind dragon from the sun as well. However, I won't be in such a rush. Susie won't be able to digest the hypnotist potion so quickly." At this point, she glanced shyly at Mr. World. "What needs to be exchanged for Vin Rambus's demigod characteristic?" Klein laughed and replied, "I still don't know what I'm lacking. In fact, other than the manipulator characteristic from Vin Rambus, I also have the corresponding potion formula. While you digest the Dreamwalker potion, I'll slowly think about what I need, and I'll get you to do certain things and gather some materials so that you can make sufficient contributions to exchange for them." Upon hearing these words, Audrey's green eyes lit up. "All right." After her reply, she asked with interest, "Is this the same as how Zio contributes to MI9? "Yes, it's also the same method that the various major churches use." Klein gave an affirmative answer. Audrey nodded and curiously asked, Mr. World, do you know the name of the high sequence beyonder potions of the spectator pathway? Klein answered simply, Manipulator, Dreamweaver, Discerner, Author, and Sequence 0, Visionary. Hearing the names makes me look forward to them. Especially Author and Visionary. Audrey fantasized for a few seconds before diverting the topic back on track. Did Vin Rambus say what the king's secret is? Also, why are they helping the king? She was partially asking for Zio, but on the other hand, she was also concerned herself. The king's secret? He wishes to bypass the 3 major contracts the royal family signed with the Orthodox churches and become a demigod. For this, he needs to use many sacrificial rituals to gain control of some important object inside the Blood Emperor's ruins. Heh. That was Vin Rambis's answer, but it might not be the entire truth and might very likely be only a part of it. As Klein answered, he shared his line of thought. As for the psychology alchemists or the Twilight Hermit Order, they need a war that sweeps the entire world. This is what they're pushing for and hope to see as the trend of the times. A war that sweeps the entire world, Audrey repeated softly. Her pretty eyebrows furrowed slightly, and her cheerful mood plummeted again. Although her status and standing hadn't made her truly experience the cruelty of war before, she was no longer sheltered and cut off from the world. She could already imagine it to a certain degree. After a brief moment of silence, Audrey took a deep breath and forced a smile. I hope we can stop this. After exchanging a few more words, she left the gray fog and returned to the real world. As for Klein, he busily used clear water, tree sap, herbal powder, thousand-faced hunter's blood, spirit world plunderer powder, and other materials to dilute Vin Rambis's beyonder characteristic and concoct a potion that had a questionable name which was definitely filled with problems. Then, he found an ordinary glass bottle and put the potion inside. He wanted to know what kind of sealed artifact it would eventually transform into. This took quite a bit of time, so he used the power of the mysterious space above the gray fog to construct a spherical barrier around the glass bottle to prevent any influence it had on the entire area after it mutated. After doing all of this, he returned to 160 Barrio Clun Street. He prepared to summon Erodes and asked it for information about the 2 beyonder creatures known as Hound of Fulgrim and Demonic Wolf of Fog. At that moment, with the passage of time, the clouds in the sky had thickened, and the sun was covered up once again. The entirety of Backlund had become as dark and cold as the morning. Standing in front of the desk, he looked out the window at the sky. For some reason, he felt as though he and the Church of Evernight had neglected an important problem. Their investigations had been going relatively smoothly during this period of time, and the intelligence they received was also delving deeper. However, for some reason, it made him feel uneasy. Is there some influence or misdirection in this matter, and truly is something that I can't think of? Even heading above the gray fog is useless. Divination will most likely point towards him. Klein hurriedly collected his thoughts, unfurled the paper, and drew a picture consisting of symbols that implied concealment and mystery prying with a fountain pen. 1 second, 2 seconds. After nearly 8 seconds, the full-body mirror in the room turned dark. Aqueous light rippled and formed silver words. Exalted Great Master, your puny, loyal, and humble servant, Erodes, is here to answer your summoning. I think I'm late. I'm already a Grade 1 sealed artifact. I need some time if I want to circumvent the isolation. Please forgive me, Great Master. You're a Grade 1 sealed artifact? Klein asked with a surprised look. He could already imagine what was going on within the Church of Steam. The mirror that likes to play question and answer games has suddenly gone crazy. The full-body mirror's silver words squirmed and formed new words. Great Master, is this a question? He wanted to answer no, but to maintain his image he nodded and said, yes. Erodes immediately produced a line of words. I'm not actually a true Grade 1 sealed artifact yet. I'm just enjoying the treatment of a Grade 1 sealed artifact in advance. This is mainly because a Grade 1 sealed artifact needs to be reported to other churches and be given a new number. The Church of Steam doesn't wish to do so. So that's how it is. That's understandable. Klein nodded gently. Got it. The aqueous light on the full-body mirror's surface flashed again as new silver words formed. Supreme Master, do you have any questions to test your loyal servant Erodes? What do you know about hounds of Fulgrim and demonic wolves of fog? He asked without standing on ceremony, completely unfazed that it was actually 2 questions. In the mirror, the silver words squirmed like they had a life of their own and changed shapes. The hounds of Fulgrim are a type of unique creature of the spirit world. They live in the historical void. Even the 7 lights only know of them and are unable to interact with them unless they leave the historical void and attempt to hunt. But even so, what you see might only be a projection of their past. The demonic wolves of fog are a type of high-level demonic wolves. After the death of the ancient gods and the cataclysm, and with them being killed by the Antigonus family, Zeridal family, and the Church of Evernight, they're extremely rare now. Furthermore, they're all good at anti-divination and deceit. They aren't easy to find. In other words, the Church of Evernight likely has materials and items related to the demonic wolf of fog. And with this, I can bring it to the spirit world and use the law of beyonder characteristic convergence to bait a hound of Fulgrim? Klein began his train of thought as he read on.